Again, we can expect an executive to have the tendency to overreach in those areas. Does Congress have the tools to do independent assessment of these threats, of these claims, or these grand strategies?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the congressional hearing process is one that, when used well, can deliver all sorts of results. I mean, the subpoena power that Congress has to do investigations can unearth lots of secrets that people didn't want to get out. And in general, the prestige and power of Congress allows it to get media coverage so it can do robust oversight. So what you need, I think, is a fight where you have a congressional committee, and divided government helps in this regard. You need to get good oversight. You need a fight. You need a disagreement between some powerful group of people in Congress that can have a hearing and the administration. I think it's not useful to sort of just wish for a responsibility of oversight. I think we need to sort of fall back on the division of powers inherent in the Constitution and say, well, how do we make them jealous of powers and get them to do oversight in that way? And why has that in some ways malfunctioned?
And of course, the other element that our founders hoped, I think, to secure popular government was a free press. So how is the press done in challenging threat assessments?
Poorly. I think the press, I think it's actually a bad idea to expect a lot of independent analysis from the press. Of course, there'll be occasional Times magazine articles, one particularly motivated individual who challenges threat assessments, but I think if you look at the broad scope of the history of when did the press really help in a democratic sense and as a tool of oversight, and when did they sort of act as the fourth estate? Well, I think it was times where there was a fight between powerful entities, again, and I repeat myself a lot about that because I think it's important.
Sure.
Even in Watergate, right, we have this sort of myth, I think, of gumshoe reporting by Woodward and Bernstein in the Washington Post that unearthed this scandal. But we had the Federal Bureau of Investigation the guy who wanted to be head of it, who was Deep Throat, was mad at the Nixon administration. They were feeding information to Woodward and Bernstein in the Washington Post. That was as much the cause of Watergate becoming a scandal as the reporting. And then, of course, you got a congressional committee set up, and they had subpoena power, and they started dragging people up there, and revelations occurred in that way. So there you had a fight between powerful people. When we had a leak to the Washington Post in recent years that we had secret intelligence, we had secret prisons overseas where we were doing enhanced interrogation or we're not sure what because they were secret. Dana Priest wrote that story in the Washington Post. We don't know where she got that information, but I bet it was a part of the government, a person in the government who didn't like that and wanted to do something about it. So it's always fights within the government, I think, that produce revelatory reporting. So reporting can be a megaphone that gets the Democratic crowd upset by something, and that can be very powerful. But I think it's wrong to think all the energy itself is going to come from the journalists themselves. There has to be some fight, I think, for them to exploit.
And